Our second unit this week described Jewish life in New York City's Lower East Side. We ended with the negative reaction these migrants received and the discrimination they endured. This activity is the Document Analysis Guide, and it will focus on a very timely subject, the immigration debate in the 1920s. The Document Analysis Guide would be very useful to analyze migrant memoirs. An excellent book with edited versions of migrant memoirs is Becoming Americans, 4 Centuries of Immigrant Writing, edited by Ilan Stavins. Or you could read the actual memoirs of these Jewish immigrants themselves. The document analysis worksheet would work wonderfully for migrant memoirs, the voice of the immigrant in their own writing. However, when we do the document analysis guide for your assignment, we are going to resource documents on the immigration debate which led to the passage of the quota laws. And these are some of the documents that are available. These documents come from particularly a website I have found very, very useful. It's called History Matters. And I also found another website, Becoming Modern. They're excellent sources for the documents on the debate leading to the quota laws. And these links to History Matters and Becoming Modern are on your content outline. This assignment is analyzing primary sources that are documents. You are going to be asked to analyze any document of the American immigration debate in the early years of the 1920s using the Document Analysis Guide. You will post your analysis on the discussion board. You will then review a peer's analysis using the rubric and post that on the discussion board. And then you'll answer a couple of questions. For example, how would you use the suggested nativist documents in a class discussion on current immigration issues? When we take a look at how a historian thinks, historians, remember, think heuristically. They source heuristically. Before they read the text, the first thing that they do is they review the source. They ask questions about the author's credentials, their motivations, their participation in the events of the time. They try to figure out the intended audience for the piece. Truly, they consider the source. We will be using the sourcing heuristic in our document analysis worksheet. Another habit of mind, how historians think, is contextualization. Contextualization in this analysis of a voice from the debate on the 1924 law will be extremely important. What was going on at this time? We've discussed Jewish migration, but we also have to take a look at some of the other nativist tendencies that occurred, as well as the Red Scare. What's going on? Also remember that linguistic context can be different. Meanings of words at certain times can be very different. Also, let's make sure our students think historically that it's not just what the source says, but it's what the source does. So the first thing that we're going to ask students to do is to read the source of the document. In other words, the person who created it. We're going to read them. We're going to investigate their intentions and their audience and possible reaction of the audience. We'll hope that in debates further on in class, you will relate this document to other documents, other perspectives on the same issue. And remember, we're always reading in historical context. Words have meanings within the context of the times that they are said or written. And words can have different meanings in different times and places. And the ultimate would be to compare these ideas and events with other parts of the world at the same time. It's not what the source says, it's what the source does. People write and speak for a reason. Do they do what they're intending to do with their audience effectively? This is the Document Analysis Guide. Absolutely important to read through it first, before you begin reading your source, before you begin reading the text. And if you'll notice, the Document Analysis Guide has a number of ways in which the sourcing heuristic will happen, as well as contextualization. We've created a model for you, and again, we have suggested answers. Models are always good not only to help you with your assignment, but also students with their assignment. By the way, we have deliberately put the Document Analysis Guide on one single side of paper. That way, this guide can be Xeroxed back to back. You can Xerox 100 of these, 200 of these at the beginning of the semester, and anytime you have students reading a primary source document, it doesn't matter where that document is from or what time frame it comes from, they can use the Document Analysis Guide on any document. We are teaching a process, not a document. We are teaching a process of analysis by using this guide. If we take a look, we have a title, the type of document, the date of the documents. Dates matter because we have to put this in context. We get some information. Sometimes you got to search for this information on the author or the creator of the document. And throughout the analysis, you can pretty much figure out who the audience was. But at this point in the worksheet, we ask students and you to see if you can surmise or guess who the audience might be. Then, and only then, do we start reading the document. And we pull 3 main ideas out of the document, and then we cite a quote from that document that clearly illustrates each main idea. Again, then we start thinking like historians. Why was the document written? Extremely important. Indicates motivation. Also, what does this document tell us about the historical context of the time? You should always be able to pull out 3 things from the document that informs the reader about life at the time it was written. Then, of course, we must assess the reliability of this source, and we must use information, evidence from the document to back up our assessment of reliability. Also, we want to look for bias. Bias must be explained with information from the document and the author. And lastly, we asked students in the Document Analysis Guide to name the most powerful or memorable quote from the document, and then they must defend the choice of this quote with their own words and hopefully words from the document. Remember, we are teaching students to think like a historian. This Document Analysis Guide can be used with any document. No making up any more worksheets for primary sources. This is the worksheet to use with any document. Teach process.